There was a moment in my career where I had just $27 left in my bank account. TikTok had just signed as a client with us to have us help launch their app in the United States, UK, and Brazil. We were deep into a campaign that had already cost us $50,000 out of pocket. We were 3 days away from the deadline and had just 800 new users out of the 25,000 users they required. If this failed, I wouldn't just end up broke. I would lose our biggest client, potentially get sued, and my own company would likely go under. Then, on the very last day of the campaign, we discovered a new strategy that changed everything. We turned the entire campaign around, hit the requirement, and ended up getting paid $228,000. This video is the full story on how close we came to losing everything while working with TikTok, and what actually went wrong, and the exact strategies we used to save the campaign and my company. Before we dive in, I've just started making these videos, so if you're getting value, I really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. When TikTok reached out to us, we were doing about $30,000 a month in revenue with the business. This engagement would eventually take us to $300,000 a month, so it would 10x our business overnight. We had about 20 people on the team, and we had been in business for about 2 years at the time. So the big question is, how did TikTok find us? Honestly, it was a little bit of luck and a little bit of SEO. We had the term Growth Hackers Los Angeles right in the title of our website. And so when somebody from Beijing at ByteDance, TikTok's owner, Googled that exact search term, which was growth hackers in Los Angeles, they typed best growth hackers in Los Angeles. We happened to be the first result. So they actually reached out to us. They applied on our website, sent us an inquiry, and then that was our first interaction with them. At the time, when the email came in, it literally had a bunch of Chinese on it from a company named ByteDance. I didn't know what ByteDance was, and I damn well didn't speak Chinese. So honestly, I thought it was a scam at first. I was like a little cautious. And then my co-founder told me what ByteDance was. So TikTok had reached out to 5 companies to help with their USA launch, and we were one of those 5. The 4th one, after the 1-month launch, 3 of the companies returned the money without prompt because they couldn't reach the goal. The 4th company was asked to refund the money, and it was just us left over. So why did they choose us for this project? Well, the answer is simple. We were only paid on performance, meaning if we didn't get the results, we didn't get paid anything. And so it was a zero risk campaign for them, huge opportunity for us, so we took the big swing. Now, if this kind of project failed, just imagine a budget of $300,000 a month for marketing where we are paying for the upfront cost, because remember, we only get paid upon performance. So if that had fallen through, we could have spent $300,000 trying to reach the result. And if we didn't, we would be out that money and TikTok would not have to pay us. So there was a huge risk taking this engagement on, but we felt like it was a godsend and we wanted to take up that opportunity and we wanted to take a big swing and see if we could hit the goal. Honestly, I was too young and naive to understand what kind of risk I was taking on because I was just so damn excited about this opportunity. So we pushed and we eventually closed the deal. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on how we closed the deal. As you know, we were the ones taking all the risk because we were only paid on performance, aka results. We were the ones taking all the financial risk initially. If we had failed on that campaign, no doubt we would have gone out of business because we simply didn't have $300,000 in the bank. In fact, at the time we had about $50,000 in the bank. So here's the strategy that we decided on working with their team. We wanted to use influencers to get leverage and reach their audiences without having to build all these audiences organically ourselves. We lined up over 100 influencers. We presented them to TikTok. TikTok reviewed them, approved them, and that became the base of the campaign. In addition to that, we also had 29 different strategies and tactics that we were going to try to figure out which one would work best for this campaign. Influencers ended up being the winner, but there was all kinds of stuff from doing airdrops at conferences to working with barbershops and salons to get them to have their customers make videos on TikTok. So we tried all kinds of different strategies. Because I was young and dumb, I was willing to commit to something huge and work super long hours and late nights. After we got the initial campaign launched, the reason we had to put up that $50,000 is because all those influencers needed to be paid in advance before they posted. And so they posted, and what ended up happening was a lot of these audiences had already been saturated. At the time, TikTok already had millions of downloads. So we didn't find that out until after that TikTok had already worked with a lot of influencers. So we were getting almost no result from that initial push with the influencer campaign. So we tried a bunch of other stuff. We did programmatic media buying. We did Facebook and Instagram ads, Google ads, all kinds of stuff. And frankly, none of it worked. We had 30 total days to get 25,000 downloads. And around day 29, we had just 800 people from the $50,000 that we had spent with these influencers. At this point, we were hitting a wall. We had no idea what to do. The client was putting more and more pressure on us, and we had no answers for them. In addition to that, we could only get reporting back from their back-end database at TikTok. It was called their National Data Warehouse, or NDW. So we couldn't even actually track the downloads that were coming in unless we asked them to manually run a report. So every day we would ask for a new report, and frankly, most days it was empty, no users coming in. This attribution issue made it way tougher to run the campaigns because we couldn't optimize the campaigns around specific results like new users coming in. So at this point, we spent $50,000, recruited manually over 100 influencers. We had to bring on 30 people in a month to get those influencers recruited. We had also spent a bunch of money on programmatic media and advertising and done all kinds of content production. So we're way in the hole at this point. So there was a few issues with this campaign. Number one, the influencers posting to their Instagram stories were simply not getting much reach, because at the time, just like today, Instagram stories only reach between 1 and 5% of your following. So we just simply were not getting much reach from those influencers. So we had a reach problem. Not enough people were even seeing the content. Second, we had a click-through rate problem, because if influencers posted to their wall, it wasn't easy for them to post a link other than in their bio. And if we posted to their story, it wasn't getting much reach. So we had a reach and a click-through rate problem. And then on top of that, we couldn't track the downloads that were coming in, because even if we got a download, it wouldn't trigger in our reporting systems until we pinged the TikTok team and asked them to reference or do a query to their database and actually pull the results from our campaigns. So this campaign was disjointed at every level. And we're sitting at day 30 having no idea what to do, because we don't have tracking set up in a proper fashion. We can't optimize campaigns. And we had already spent the majority of the media budget, only to find out that TikTok had all these restrictions on how we report data, how we connect our tracking systems, what kind of content would get approved. So we ended up digging ourselves into a huge hole, and we had no idea. So at this point, we're kind of freaking out. In addition to that, in order for TikTok to give us credit for the new users to come in, 40% would have to come back on day one, meaning a D1 retention rate of 40%. So even if we got downloads, we would still have to get 40% of them to come back, which is really difficult if we have all this lack of control in place, from the content to the tracking to the channels. At this point, we have basically worked 24/7 for 3 weeks straight to recruit all these influencers, produce all this content, get it approved, and then publish it across hundreds of profiles, only to be left with pretty much nothing in hand. And at that point, I realized this was not an effort problem. This was a systems problem. We did not have the right system set up to succeed here. By this time, the TikTok team was reaching out to us every day saying, hey, did this campaign launch? Are we getting, downloads? Are we getting results? Frankly, it was a little bit scary. I didn't know how to answer their messages. Plus, they're in Beijing, so the timing would be like 1 a.m. my time when I get messages, and it just didn't line up well. And because they were in Beijing and the time zone differences, it was hard to get on calls, so we were negotiating back and forth on text a lot. And Chinese people are not easy to negotiate. They are hard-running business people. And so we had a lot of odds working against us here. Meanwhile, we had maybe 10 other clients that we were working for at the time. So we're staying up all night to take calls with the team in Beijing. Meanwhile, we got all these other clients that we're still attempting to serve at the same time. So we were starting to get spread thin. This exhaustion and overexertion was really starting to get to me and the team, and we were feeling very helpless, and it didn't seem like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Frankly, I just wanted to throw in the towel at this point, but I couldn't, because I had $50,000 into this, and we had this contract with TikTok to send them these 25,000 users. At this point, TikTok made us pull out an insurance plan for $1 million to cover our own ass in case they had to sue us. So now we're even more in the scary zone. This brought me to the lowest point in my career. I had wired the last $50,000 that I had to my name, had almost nothing in the bank account, so we didn't have much latitude to make other moves and do campaign optimizations. And I was depending on a payment from TikTok that they didn't even have to send it yet. We didn't know when it was going to come. At this point, it stopped feeling like a business problem and felt more like a personal problem. I began to accept that failure was a possibility. I came into this campaign thinking, hey, no matter what happens, I'll find a way to make it work. But slowly that began to shift to, this might not work. I started running all the worst case scenarios in my head. I couldn't sleep at night. I've got no money in the bank. I got this company chasing me for a $300,000 engagement, and I had no idea where to go from here. In addition to that, I have a whole team of employees that I help put food on their table, provide for their families, and I have a responsibility to them. And I didn't think that I could fulfill on that responsibility. But then the breakthrough came. So at this point, as I mentioned, we had tried over 27 different tactics to figure out what might work from this campaign, from college students to mommy bloggers, to conferences, airdropping, to media buying campaigns, to programmatic, to organic content strategy, to influencers. We had tried it all. Frankly, there wasn't a lot of other things to try. We tried everything. So one late night, I'm on the phone with my co-founder and we're trying to figure out what potential solution. Now, at this point, we did have 100 influencers who had a combined audience of over 100 million fans. So we had a big audience that we could access, but we simply could not get in front of them, and we couldn't get them to click. click. But we did have the influencers on board and we were logged into their Instagram profiles because of the way the campaign was set up. So I'm sitting on the phone with my co-founder and I remember what a friend showed me about something called autoDM. Now, this is a feature that Instagram automation platforms came up with back in the day where you could send direct messages to all the followers of an Instagram profile or all the followers of our influencers. And so I had the idea of, hey, maybe if we send DMs to all their followers, we can reach the other 95% of the audience that the Instagram stories are not reaching. And a friend of mine had made a software that allows us to send DMs in mass. Now, this is at a time before DMs became spammy like they are today. At the time, it was an innovation. So we did a small pilot. We sent 1,000 direct messages to one influencer's audience and we went to sleep. The next morning when we woke up, we had 900 clicks and 300 downloads. Remember, over the last month, we spent $50,000 to get 800 downloads. Now, all of a sudden, for free on a new campaign, we had sent just 1,000 DMs and gotten 300 downloads out of it. I knew that we had cracked the code. And that's when I realized this one was different than the others. We went from having a 0.4% click-through rate to having a 33% click-through rate. So what did we do? We sent 10,000 messages the next day. What happened? 3,300 new users came in. And it didn't cost us a penny to send these DMs. And that's when everything flipped. The open rate on the direct messages was over 85%. The click-through rate was 33% and the conversion rate was over 25%. So we were getting massively more results. Compare that to the Instagram stories where we were reaching 5% of the audience. We were getting a 0.4% click-through rate and the conversion rate was almost negligible. At that moment, I realized we had solved multiple problems at once because we had implemented a system that actually works. What do we do next? Well, we hit up Roxy, our contact at TikTok, and we said, hey, go run a report. I want to see the numbers. Sure enough, we had like 3,800 downloads after those first two pushes. And at that point, we said, hey, do we have the green light to launch this campaign? By the way, the D1 retention rate was like 50% on these users. So not only were so many more users coming in, but the quality was incredible. These users were highly engaged. What we put in those direct messages was, hey, first name, I just posted a video that's going viral on a new platform called TikTok. If you want to see it, click the link below. And just imagine that you follow somebody like Tony Robbins or like Lewis Howes or one of these big influencers and they send you a personal message. If I get a message from Tony Robbins saying, hey, I just posted a new video that's only available on TikTok, do you want to see it? There's a high likelihood that I'm going to click that. Just the whole celebrity factor to the level of credibility that that person carries to it being from their real account, like the impact that that has on people when they open that DM was extremely powerful. And all the influencers that we were working with had over 1 million followers and most of them have verified profiles. So a ton of credibility came with this. We got to leverage the credibility of all those influencers and that's why the numbers multiplied in such a crazy fashion. So by day 35, we had asked for an extension. We got the extension from TikTok. We launched 100,000 DMs over that week and we got to those 22,500 downloads in just 4 days. Ended up going to about 28,000 downloads by the end of the next week. Once that happened, we invoiced TikTok for the nearly $300,000 outstanding because we had hit the goal. And sure enough, they paid us. They wired us the money. I have screenshots. I'll show them on screen here for you of when we got paid. And that moment was it. Now, you might think this sounds exciting, and to some extent it was, but the dominant emotion that I was feeling at that time was relief. I had simply dodged a bullet, and I was just glad that I was not in my grave at that point. That created an immense sense of gratitude, not only for the software team who helped us out, to my co-founder, to the rest of our team who supported us on making all the creative. I just felt like I had done good by people, and most importantly by TikTok, because that was the initial group that we made our promise to, and that's who we held the initial responsibility. At that time, I had never seen that much money, especially not in my bank account. And at that time, I knew we were onto something good. We worked with TikTok from 2019 to 2021, and this moment still sticks out as one of the most memorable experiences for me. More important than getting paid a lot of money or impressing a client or looking cool for my team, the most important change that happened was in my mind and in my heart. This experience changed how I approach risk, marketing campaigns, and handling pressure today. As they say, it takes pressure to create diamonds. The most formative experiences are the ones that hurt the most. And this one hurt a lot until it didn't. I wish that every founder could experience what I went through in that. But the truth is, I wouldn't wish it upon many people because it was such a difficult and painful experience that if I knew what I was getting into, I wouldn't have done it again. But what this signals is that there is always a way. And as a founder, we need to have the mindset that we can always overcome the next challenge. At the time when we were in the hole and we didn't didn't have any money or any users, it would have been a very easy opportunity to just say, hey, I'm going to bankrupt the company. I'm going to absolve myself of this responsibility, and I'm going to back out of everything so that I can be free again. But I'm glad that I stuck with it, not only because it paid me well and we got great results and we got this amazing client that we worked with, but more importantly, it made me a tougher, stronger founder who can actually endure those kind of challenges and not get fazed by them. So if you're a founder and you think you're up against an impossible challenge, I encourage you to just stay the path, don't get emotional about it, and have compassion on yourself as you work through the challenge, because the truth is there's always a way. The truth is massive success and growth does not happen when things are the most exciting. When you first start a company, you're excited to make the designs and to make the app, and the first time you handle it and it's working, that's all exciting stuff. But that excitement burns off after just a few months. And then you get into the real work of running a company, which is not very fun. It's very repetitive and it's difficult. So don't expect an overnight success. Instead, success comes from having persistence and grit to fight through constant challenges and difficult experiences. And the bigger challenge you can overcome, the more you're going to get paid. So if you're running into something really difficult, that only means that the payoff is going to be bigger on the back end. If you're feeling unsure or uncomfortable or unconfident about where you're at with the business, I want to let you know that that doesn't mean that you're failing. In fact, it might mean that you're onto something good. The most important takeaway that I hope you learn from this video is to press on through any challenges and always look for a solution, and don't get all emotionally tied up in the experience, because that will only get you in your head and break you down. If you stay focused on that goal, if you read that goal every day, that's your guiding light and your North Star, you can make it through anything. And really, truly, any startup can succeed if they follow the process and if they just stick to that process. So if this video was helpful, definitely go check out the other videos on my channel. Until then, go build something great, and I'll see you soon.